Hello, welcome to another episode on Evolve, where faith meets rhythm and life finds its full expression. I'm your host, Olufunmilayo Oloyede. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you on the topic, doing good regardless. And I tell people, before someone's act of wickedness can really get at you, it's either you are neither here nor there, or you are sneaky. And I stand corrected. You know, the Bible says God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, he reaps. And I remember one of my uncles usually says something in my language. He would say, "Ìṣesílẹ̀ ni baba ẹ̀san. Bí kò bá jẹ́ ẹ̀san, á jẹ́ ìṣesílẹ̀." Meaning, sowing is the mother of harvest. If it is not a seed sown, it is an harvest that one is reaping. You know, I was working in a company. In fact, it was during my internship year. My dad wanted me to do my intern at where he was working. And I can't recall what happened that day that I found myself in this company aside from what I did in school. So I got into this company naturally because I observed a lot. I learned a lot within the shortest notice. I'll be there before anyone resumes. You know, my siblings and I learned time discipline from my dad. You give my dad a 9 a.m. appointment, he's there 8:15 or at the latest 8:30 a.m. You know, in a very short time, I had access to a lot of information, and somehow I indirectly took over the MD's responsibility. You know, I'll be the one to attend to clients. I was the one to lodge in money into the account at the bank. And those days, there were no online transfers. You have to go to the bank with your teller and standing in a queue to pay in your cash. You know, my boss became so fond of me that sometimes she would talk about me to her friends. And when they're around, they make jest of the way I talk or the way my body looks. And some will part with gifts because she was so fond of me. And unknown to me, I didn't know I was already treading a dreadful path. And you know, the manager was pretty spoken lady that I just loved for no reason. I loved her with my heart. And you know, I remember the first day I started in that company, she picked on me. I can't even remember what happened that day. She picked on me, I brushed it off. I told myself, it's one of those things. I loved her with my heart. And every morning when I set out and I'm cooking, I usually tell my mom, "Ma, I want to make enough. I want to add to my food because I have someone in my office that I need to share my food with." You know, I never knew that the more I was doing that, I was offending this pretty woman. You know, she would eat my meal and tells me thank you, unknowingly to me that she has been looking for a loophole. Then this wonderful day, my boss just got back from a trip and we're giving her the feedback of how the week ran. And we all left the office. Then the next call I had was, "Oga wants you in our office." I got in, alas. I was accused of so many things. And I remember one of the things that was mentioned that I wasn't listening to anybody. I had my own rules. Nobody could talk to me in our absence. I wasn't obeying the instructions given to me by the next person ahead of me. I'm like, where on earth is this coming from? Then the next thing I could hear, "Go home, you are suspended." Waiting we throw, waiting we catch. Osanobua. You know, I began to beg. I knelt down, I begged. Some of my colleagues came. They knelt down with me, begged her. And even this lady too, she knelt down. She was begging my boss, "Please forgive her." And I was crying because I know how I left my home. My dad is a disciplinarian. He dare not hear anything that is contrary. He won't listen. He won't even listen to the side of your story. The next thing he will start scolding you. But I had to suck up everything. I went back home and I related everything to my parents. I told them what happened. And the usual. My parents didn't budge. They were angry. They began to scold me. And the funny thing that year, my grandfather was around. And he overheard when my dad was talking to me. And he told my dad that my dad should be giving me money, transport fare. And I should be leaving the house every morning to the office until my boss accepts my apology. And the funny thing, once I leave house in the morning, I won't have access to the office. So there is a kiosk near my office that year. I will sit there to watch when my boss will drive in so that I can quickly run to her car and start begging. That went for a whole week. By the next Monday, I got to the kiosk early as usual to mark when my boss will drive in so that I can run to her car and beg her. And God smiled on me this beautiful morning. She called me in and told me to go back to my duty. I was so excited and everyone rejoiced with me. Almost immediately I got back to work, what I know best in doing. I'm making sure business of the day ran smoothly. And as we close for the day, one of the staff, quite elderly, called me aside and said, "For me, I see that you have an open mind with everyone." He said, "Be careful of this so, and people." I'm like, "Oh, no, how about this lady? Now my person now." And he said, "You may not believe it, she's the mastermind behind your suspension." And when you got back, she ranted. "Why so fast? Why did she allow her to get back to work? Why so fast?" I didn't confront her because there was no need. I was only there for internship. I didn't bother to ask her. But I left the place. Few years down the line, I heard she was dismissed with no gratuity nor awards for her long years of service. What transpired, I didn't bother to ask because I didn't need that information. People talk down on other people. We have people who gang up a lot against people just because they want to either get their position or just because of envy. And one thing I've come to realize that is part of the game. Don't worry. The one who sees in secrets is the one that rewards in public. It may be painful because it's part of the process, the pruning. You will be fine. Keep doing your bit under God. Keep being good because it pays so greatly. The Bible says how God anointed Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. So do you want to tell me that Jesus was not offended? He was offended big time. But it pays. How did he pay? Someone like me has come to the knowledge of Christ. And I want to believe, as you're listening to me, you have come to the knowledge of Christ. So he pays off at the long run. So it pays up big time to be good. So when next you hear anything said about you that is not too good, when you find yourself in a scenario that is toxic, do not allow the environment to change who you are in God. Till I come your way and I say again, be good. Bye.